today's topic, back pain, as I'm sure you're all aware. So just wanted to throw out some diagnoses, or these are just probably the most common symptoms or conditions, I guess, that we see in the clinic. And as we'll explain, by the way, we're not a medical facility, and we don't necessarily treat these symptoms, but we help people get out of pain through correcting their posture and moving better, and so their bodies can function and feel better. So, but people come to us with all kinds of different situations and backgrounds, injuries, and mostly chronic issues. So maybe you see something on here that you've been diagnosed with, or maybe multiple of them. But I think as we'll go through this, one of the big takeaways that hopefully you learned today is that we want to always ask the question of why. Whenever we're treating anything, we want to make sure we're getting to the root cause of it. And so, because if you don't, then we run into problems with, not solving the issue and just chasing the symptoms. So, we won't go into too much detail about these specifically, unless if you have a specific question about your condition, or if we've helped with it before, feel free to put that in the chat, or if you don't want to share, you can do it privately. I just wanted to share this just to keep some perspective. So don't get too hung up on all these numbers, but this is just showing research that shows that, on the left here, we have different types of degenerations in your discs and your spine, different types of degeneration, basically, and how prevalent or how common they are in people with asymptomatic, meaning no symptoms. So they don't have any pain, but yet this is how common a lot of these issues are. So you can see disc degeneration just in general, even in your 20s, more than a third of people have that without pain. And you get up into, our average client age, somewhere in the 50s, 60, almost everybody has a disc degeneration. So it just goes to show you that if you have these conditions, maybe you've been diagnosed with something like this, disc bulge, or any of those things, that it doesn't mean you have to be in pain. There's plenty of people that have these things happening in their backs and it doesn't bother them for whatever reason. So, and it also shows that, well, if you went to pursue a surgery, you just want to make sure that that's actually the best decision for you, and you're actually going to be treating the cause of your pain, because it's quite possible these things can be there without causing your pain. So we don't want to, have unnecessary surgeries. Sometimes it is necessary, of course, but so what if that's, if the disc degeneration, the bulging discs and things like that aren't really causing your pain, so what does the pain really mean? And, at Egoscue, we think of pain as your body's voice, or a warning signal to you that something's wrong. And so it doesn't always give us, we have to dig deeper though, right? Just like a check engine light on your car, it's a warning. It tells you, okay, you need to pay attention to something's not working maybe the way it should, or isn't happening that should be happening. And doesn't mean that there's necessarily damage. But there could be if you ignore it long enough, right? And so just like when treating your car, you take it to a mechanic, hopefully figure out why the light came on, and not just ignore it, or do something to turn the light off, but don't actually fix the problem, right? So that's the same with treating our bodies. And sorry, there's a fire truck. So what is then the source of the pain if it's not damage? Well, these are some things that a lot of people blame their pain on. Age, as we saw in that graph, though, you can see with age generally does come more wear and tear, but not necessarily more, doesn't have to mean more pain. Genetics, a lot of people blame their, oh, my dad had a bad back and my grandpa had a back surgery, so, I'm just doomed to have back pain. Well, it's not really the case. As far as I know, we haven't discovered a back pain gene, so it's something that's definitely more related to our lifestyle, barring, obvious major injuries or accidents. and our jobs. Same thing, you know, our bodies are really resilient or made to move. And if we're not moving enough and maybe we're stuck at a computer a lot, that can be extra stressful. But there's definitely things you can do during your workday or preparing it by doing your Egoscue or taking care of yourself that can prevent the pain as well. So these are just factors, but not necessarily causal. So at Egoscue, our belief is that most people's chronic pain is due to misalignments in their body. In a simple term, their posture is off. So just like this house, obviously it's crooked. It looks like it's about to fall over. It's not very stable. And maybe sometimes your body feels like this. And maybe you go to a chiropractor and get things sorted out and you feel good for a while. But ultimately, what makes us different at Egoscue is we're using exercises and stretches to change your muscles. So the muscles are what holds your bones in the position they are. It's what keeps you upright, working against gravity. So if they're out of balance, your body's going to be, your bones or your joints are going to be out of position, just like this house. So there's a fancy definition of poor posture for you. I think everybody can kind of picture it. And it relates to the whole body too. So we're talking about backs today, but we see people with pain from their head to their toes, you know, and everything in between. And it can all be related to your posture because all those joints have an important role. It's not just your back. Your back relies on your shoulders and your hips and your knees and your ankles to also be in the proper position. So all those structures are supported when things are in balance, meaning we'll talk details in a second, but basically the right and left side should be doing the same thing in the same position. They should both function the same way. There should be balance from front to back. And that's really ultimately what prevents a lot of these problems. So our bodies were designed to move. You know, as kids, we moved a lot more than we do as adults typically. We played, we were just unrestricted. And as we get older, I think we tend to restrict our movement a lot more, whether that's through going to school and having to sit, and then going to work and having to sit usually. And just more things take our time, obviously. So maybe we exercise, you know, if we're pretty active, an hour a day, you know, is considered pretty active, but how many hours are you not active during that day, right? So our bodies need that movement. And even if we are moving in a balanced, healthy way, you know, or are we just overusing the same muscles over and over again, developing the same movements over and over again, and maybe missing out on some of the functions our body is supposed to do, but isn't. So ultimately, we're just trying to get our bodies back to being able to move the way they're supposed to, restoring that balance to the muscles so they all do what they're supposed to. And that's ultimately what will help you feel better and have a long, happy, you know, pain-free life. So rather than just eliminating the pain through drugs or surgeries that may fix the damage and may or may not be necessary, but you still, you know, we talk with surgery that you're going to come out of the surgery with the same muscles that you went in with, right? So you want to make sure that your body is as functional as possible beforehand or afterwards. If you've had a surgery already, it's never too late, I don't think. So you also, like down on the bottom left, resting always feels good. It's definitely beneficial, but you can only rest for so long. So we can't all be on vacation all the time, or just giving up the sports or the things you love. So we hear from a lot of people, in fact, probably everyone who comes in has given up something because of their pain. For me, I was considering racquetball. A lot of people, it's their sports or even just basic activities like going for walks, they have to limit. Sitting too long can hurt, right? So you're just always trying to accommodate this pain instead of fixing it. So that's what we ultimately want to do. So I'll let Kelly now talk about what exactly posture looks like, and then we'll go through some examples and start helping you guys understand that a little bit better. So go ahead, Kelly.
Great. Well, like the old song says, ankle bone's connected to the thigh bone's, connected to the knee bone, and the knee bone's connected to the hip bone, all that. Like, that's so true. Your body is connected from head to toe, and it's a unit, right? So working on it as a unit is, and treating the body as a unit is so important. And that's the lens that we look through as Egoscue therapists. So when someone comes in for their first appointment, the first thing that we do is we take posture photos. And that is a snapshot in time of everything your body has done up until that point, muscularly, movement wise, all your habits and activities that you've done with your body, and one-sided sports like golf or tennis, or so everything is held in that posture photo and tells us so much about what it's been like to be you in that posture, right? And so what we do is we compare your current posture, where you're at right now, what you come in as, to what's called the blueprint, right? This is like a normal textbook picture of the human body and the alignment of the body, right? Just basic general. So we have 8 load-bearing joints: 2 shoulders, 2 hips, 2 knees, 2 ankles. And we have a mirror image. Right side and left side are equal. They should have the same length tension of muscles. They should have the same alignment, like level shoulders over level pelvis, over knees that point straight ahead, over feet that point straight ahead, with equal distance between that black line and the middle, the ankles, the inner side of the ankles, same amount of space between the black line and the inner part of those knees. And then when you come to the arms, you should see the thumb and the side of the pointer finger from the front view. You shouldn't be seeing like all 5 fingers in the front view. They should be turned sideways, and you should see that thumb and the side of the pointer finger. You should have equal distance away from the arm and the side of the thigh and outer hip area. And that head should sit between level shoulders and be in line with the nose should be in line with the sternum, the belly button, and the space between the feet. So that's the forward, the front posture. And then if you reverse that, that's the back posture as well. So
sorry, Kelly, just another little detail. She was talking about seeing your hands from the front, and that's kind of a glimpse or an indication of what's going on at your shoulder. So when your hands turn in like that, it's because your shoulders are rounded in layman's term, but that's what that means. So it's a pretty easy way to just, can you see the knuckles from the front? Your shoulders are rounded. So
yeah. So and we just compare. To be honest, in 20 years, I've never met anyone who looks like this. And the goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is just to move towards balance in the body. And using this blueprint, these pictures, as a way to compare and contrast where you're currently at to this blueprint is a great way to learn about your body and how it has compensated muscularly over time. Like, what have your muscles been telling your bones what to do, right? Because your muscles tell your bones where to be in space. The side view, this is your side posture. So when we take the side pictures, we take front, back, right, and left side. And from the side view, you want to see ear over the shoulder, shoulder over the hip, hip over the knee, knee over the ankle. And the elbow and the wrist should also be on that line with a level pelvis, with feet in alignment, perpendicular to the floor and straight up, from the body, right? If you're not having posture that is leaning more towards those 2 pictures, the S-curve in your spine is going to be definitely off. And it is going to compress, and the discs can kind of squish in and pop out and press on nerves and have all kinds of hosts of issues over time. So the integrity of the posture and the balance of your body, front to back, right to left, has a huge impact on the position of your spine and the curve of your spine and how your spine translates and moves through space.
All right. So that's what we're looking for. Now we're going to give everybody here a chance to practice what they just learned on someone else. So this is a real client from the past. So and this is a chance you can put it in the chat or unmute yourself and just say it if you'd like, but what can you see that looks different on this guy based on what we just described as the ideal posture? What's off here, or what's less than ideal?
Leaning too far forward, hips are too far forward, shoulders too far forward, ear is in alignment, and left to right looks off as well.
Yeah, great, thanks.
Yeah, what position is his spine in?
Not where it should be.
Right. Looks like it's curved to one side. Does everybody see that? How his belly button and his sternum and his nose are all the way to the left of that red line.
Yeah, so he's got some side to side issues, and also front to back issues too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone said rounded shoulders.
Yeah.
Shifted to his left. Yep. Or what about, this is a little harder to see, but horizontally, you know, are the shoulders level? Are the hips level? What do we think?
Yeah, which direction do the knees point? Which direction do the feet point? You know. You can see there's some definite imbalances, right side versus left side. Narrow stance. Yeah, his feet are really close together. Standing with your feet that close together, how stable do you think that is? How good is his balance with a very narrow, like, point to pivot on, right? If his feet were wider, more underneath his pelvic girdle, then he would have a stronger base to stand on and better balance. And if his feet were straighter as well, people's feet will turn outward to gain stability, to gain like a wider position. Instead of the heels coming out, the toes come out. Mm-hmm. Now we're getting a little more technical here. With the pelvis tipped forward, having like the pelvic girdle tipped forward so that you have what's called an anterior tilt. And it's interesting, when you look at pelvises that are tipped forward, you can see the belly like hangs over that shelf. And he can look maybe 10 to 15 pounds heavier just because of his pelvic position being forward. If he tipped his pelvis more neutral through exercises, he could look 10 to 15 pounds lighter.
Yeah, so how do you think, how does this all relate to back pain? Can you see now how just the position of those joints, how it affects his spine? It's his spine in the normal S-curve right now. No, I mean, he's got, you know, with the hips being forward like that, it changes the angles here, and then the upper back is more rounded, the head is forward, so that upper neck is changed. And then add on top of that, from the side, it's also tipping, you know, laterally or to the side. So it's just a recipe for all kinds of pain, but his spine is definitely impacted. So yeah, good.
I would highly predict he has back pain as a therapist. If he didn't tell me anything and I would look at just those posture photos, I would say, ouch, his back hurts.
Yep, that's true. All right, so here he is just a couple months later. And obviously it looks a lot different, but same body, but now the result of him doing exercises. What changed? What specifically about his posture looks different now?
He's not leaning forward anymore, so his ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, ear seem to be in alignment. And he looks more in alignment left to right as well. And I think before one of his shoulders was higher, those look a little bit more even as well.
Yeah, so I guess maybe the better question is what didn't change, right? Like,
yeah, right.
Everything is better pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, wider foot stance for sure. I mean, think about that. The wider foot stance, the hand position changed, the shoulders are back and down. His pelvis shifted out of that anterior position. It's not so anterior. He has a nice S-curve now. It puts him at such low risk for injury and accident. He is so in preventative maintenance mode at this point. You know, he's back to doing what he wants to do in this position. His other posture was limiting him greatly from being really effective at moving and doing what he wanted to do. No doubt about it.
Yeah. So we'll just show a couple other examples, just some other types of clients that we see typically. This guy also back pain, and sometimes the postures can get kind of exaggerated when you're in pain. Maybe you can relate to this, where your back's so locked up that you can't even stand up straight, you know? So I think that was the scenario with this guy, that you can just see how, I mean, there's no S. That's about as far from an S curve as you can get, right? I don't see any curve there. It's just one big kind of flat C shape. And then of course the tilting to one side. So it doesn't look very comfortable. So obviously much better here, more centered and also more upright. So he's got a little bit more of a curve now. So kind of a younger example, we get asked about scoliosis a lot, and it is something we see, and it is something that you can improve on, especially if you're young and still growing. There's a lot of change, positive change you can make. So this just shows that scoliosis being the kind of side-to-side curve in the spine, which I think a lot of people have a small amount of and don't realize it. You know, there can have, you know, a wide degree of severity, of course, but I think a lot of people, like our first example, you know, just having that little bit of a curve to the side, I mean, maybe not technically defined as scoliosis, but any side-to-side shift, you know, can be problematic. So whether it looks severe or not. Okay, and this one's fun. This is our client from our friends in Japan. We have 2 clinics there, and they sent these photos as before and after, I believe. I mean, I'd have to double check, but I'm pretty sure it was just one session, wasn't it, Kelly? Do you remember? I thought this was
yeah, typically people have, you know, when they've been in that posture for a really long time, they can have pretty amazing results.
Yeah, because
yeah,
she had a long way to go, and she made a lot of progress even in just that, you know, hour or so. And so, but this just shows how her body had adapted to, you know, Kelly was talking about how our postures kind of tell the story of what we've used our bodies for up until that point. And she was obviously bending over a lot for her work, and her body just adapted to that, right? Made it more efficient for her. It's always our bodies are always adapting to help us, you know, in some way, but obviously it has consequences if you're stuck in that forward position for too long.
Yeah, and somebody was just, I'm answering in the chat too as I'm listening and corresponding verbally too, but someone said, well, what about people in their 70s and older? Can Egoscue help us? Abso-freaking-lutely. Because you still have muscles, right? If you have muscles, you can train the muscles into a better posture position at any age. That is the beauty of it. I just had a woman here earlier today who drove all the way over from Bend for her appointment today, which is like a 5-hour drive. And she's been doing her exercises for 3 years now. She says the only thing, if she does her exercises every day, she sleeps all night without pain. And she said in her 70s now, 78 years old, she says, I'm having a hard time finding people I can go walking with and who can keep up with me functionally because everyone else is in such poor shape. She's having a hard time finding friends who can walk with her 5 miles and hike with her 5 miles and keep up with her. And I thought, wow, what a testimonial. I was blown away. So her and her husband do their exercises religiously so that they can keep up with each other and they can stay so active as their friends are continuing to decline. And she said this is the most important thing that they do for themselves. I was just like, could you please be on this workshop with us? But she had to drive back to Bend today, so she couldn't.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I shared this picture too, just to so, we do see people of all ages from their 20s, like this guy, into their 70s or 80s, like this woman, and like Kelly said, it's never too late. As long as you got muscles and you can change them. So, and this woman was very active as well and hiked and, and she actually looks younger, right? After straightening out her posture, not only did it help her feel better, but you just look better when you've got proper posture.
Look
right?
better, feel better, think better. I mean, there's a lot of emotion held up in posture too. When your shoulders are back and your chest is out and you're standing tall, you feel dignity, you feel pride, you feel balanced, you feel centered, you feel grounded, you feel self-assured, you can use your voice, you can breathe better, all your muscle systems, or excuse me, all your body systems coordinate better. I mean, there's so much to posture that people just don't think about because posture is subconscious. It's not something that we tune into or tap into until kind of we have to, or we looked at our posture photos. So it's a great way to kind of analyze, like, well, what's going on in our bodies? There's a question in the chat to Zach, about the PT and Egoscue difference, and I don't know if that's something we want to tackle now or in a bit.
Yeah, I'll give you the brief answer now, and we can maybe talk about it more at the end. But basically, I think there's a lot of similarities. I'd say that probably the biggest differentiator is that we generally, I can't speak for all PTs, but Egoscue is primarily focused on correcting the whole body's posture, regardless of where the symptom is. Whereas I think in general, physical therapy, you're going to go in for your back pain, specific, diagnosis from your doctor probably to be able to do the physical therapy. And so they are going to just look at your back and give you exercises to help with your back directly, which is great, right? Makes sense. But I think it can come short because a lot of times, as we saw with these examples, the issue can be anywhere in the body, all the way down to your ankles. And so if you're not addressing the position of all those joints, sometimes the therapy isn't as effective. So we have to, at Egoscue, treat the whole body, regardless of where the pain is. It's all connected. So we might be doing hip exercises or ankle exercises or shoulder exercises. And it just depends on what your specific posture is. So it's not a cookie cutter approach. It's kind of customized to the position of your body. So
yeah, I had a client today who came in who had gone to PT previously, and she said, I just wasn't getting the results that I wanted. One, I left with more pain, or the exercises they gave me gave me pain. And she just said that she felt like they were just kind of like a one size fits all for her back pain. She said when she comes here, she said, it's just so customized and individualized to me and my pain, my posture, my situation. And she said, and that's why I feel like I'm getting better results and having more success, because it's just really tailored to me, she said. And so she was grateful for that. But that's a big difference really between PT and Egoscue, is that we are not a one size fits all. Absolutely not. Everybody's posture is different. Everything that they've done in their lifetime is different. So even if 5 people came in with back pain, they all have different postures. They're all going to have a different set of exercises that they do to go home with, because they had a different job, they played different sports, and they have different posture. So
yeah, Paul asked a question. How about piano and guitar playing posture? Can you help with that? And I think kind of the same thing. It's all customized to you. So I've worked with a lot of musicians, and they can, especially guitar, it's kind of an asymmetrical position you're in, right? You're holding the guitar in one hand and you're strumming with the other, and so it can lead to imbalances in your posture, but we still treat it the same, right? We still have to get your body into a better position, and that'll translate in when you have a better posture going into your, guitar or piano playing or whatever it is. starting with a better posture, you know, even if you are in a position, like you have to be in a symmetrical position to play the guitar, it's not going to be as detrimental because your body will just go right back to the good posture that you've created through your exercises. So as far as like specifics on how you should sit while you hold the guitar or the piano, like that's probably a better question for your someone who plays those instruments. But we can definitely help with you know, changing your body's posture, you know, just at rest, and then that'll set you up to be, you know, just much less likely to hurt whenever you do anything really, but instruments. So
yeah, and just like any good workout or any sport you're going to go do, or any gardening even, you know, it's always great to have tools that you can do to set up your body in good alignment, to take the body to the event, whatever the event is, sport, guitar, whatever it is, gardening, and into better alignment. Use your tools, your exercises as tools, get your body into better alignment so that when you go to the event, you are prepared to handle the level of demand that you're putting, you know, that your body is being asked to do. And then afterwards, you can also use your tools, use your exercises to get your body back into alignment if you notice that you've kind of come out of alignment again. The great thing about having your own posture photos and starting to learn how to diagnose and self-treat with exercises is that you get to learn and feel, well, when your posture is in and out, you see it. You can take pictures of yourself. You can look in the mirror, which we're going to start doing here in a little bit together, is start analyzing our own posture and bringing our posture conscious to our minds again. So that's the beauty of Egoscue in the long term. That's why it's a long-term solution, is because we're going to teach you the skills to diagnose, self-treat posture-wise. Are you in alignment? Are you out? And then, you know, use your exercises as your tools to treat your body when you're in pain, rather than trying to grab for the pills or think about surgery or going and having, you know, someone else do the work for you. You can actually get down on the floor and do your exercises for yourself and get yourself out of pain. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, Dan said he did PT while working with me, and PT was like the house you showed. PT was trying to level one room. Egoscue went to the foundation to level the whole house. So I really like that analogy.
That's great.
It's a good way to look at it. So
I like that, Dan. I'm going to use that one. Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll, speaking of self-assessment, we'll give you guys a little way that you can assess your own posture kind of indirectly here, since we can't all take photos of ourselves right now. But so what I want, this is the part where we all participate. So if you're wearing shoes, please take them off. Socks are fine, but go ahead and stand up and just kind of march in place a little bit. Maybe shake out your arms and your legs, and then just put your feet wherever they feel natural for you. Try not to cheat and look at them, you know, just put them wherever you feel feels normal. And then close your eyes if you need to focus better. But really, we're just going to tune into what we're feeling on the bottoms of our feet. So
now, if you can't stand and you have to sit, that's okay too. Just put your feet flat on the floor, hip width and parallel and straight, and feel the weight into your butt bones, into your chair, and into the bottoms of your feet, into the floor sitting, because you may or may not feel a difference there too, even just sitting.
Oh, that's a good point. So what we're looking for is just getting a sense of, are the feet even? Do they feel the same? Or maybe you feel heavier on one side or the other? And where on the foot do you feel it? Is it more on the front, like on the balls and toes, or maybe it's back on the heels? Maybe it's one way on one foot and the other way on a different foot. And then also from the inside edge to the outside edge, like big toe side to pinky toe side. You know, so just, and it may move around a little bit, that's fine, but you should kind of get a general sense of where the pressure is settling. Okay, so once you kind of get a sense of that, if you don't mind sharing, just so we have some ideas what everybody's feeling, you can put it in the chat or just tell us right now, unmute yourself. What's everybody feeling?
I'm feeling just a little bit forward and just slightly on the left side, more weight.
Okay, great, thanks.
Anybody else? Paul, Edward, Leslie, anybody?
I feel balanced left to right, strong legs and everything, but my shoulders, I've had two shoulders, both shoulders operated on. So they are a little bit tight and a little bit rounded forward. And that takes away some of the healthy curvature, the lordosis of my cervical spine. And that's caused a lot of problems with my right side of my thoracic. The muscles cramp up a lot.
Mm.
Yeah, when you can see yourself.
I feel like my left hip is higher.
Yeah, definitely possible.
I feel my right knee is in fire.
Right knee's on fire.
Okay.
Someone
Weights in the heels here. One person said weights in the heels. Some in the toes, more pressure on the outside of the foot. Right feels heavier in the bottom of that foot. Yeah, those are all imbalances in the body, muscle imbalances. And if we put you on one of those scales where you had the right and the left foot, it would show you the pressure sensor difference from right versus left, front, back, inside, outside. But this is your own internal reading. Yeah,
so you want to just not necessarily change any of that, not yet, but just kind of make a mental note of it. We'll check it again after we try some exercises to change your alignment, and you should be able to feel a difference. Because really, when our bodies, if we go back to that, ideal posture, we should have equal weight on both feet, first of all, right? So if our body's centered, we're not leaning to one side or the other, both feet will carry 50% of the weight. And also front to back, the heel and the ball of the foot should have most of the pressure, and pretty even from inside edge to outside edge of the ball as well. So anything that's different than that is just a sign that your posture somewhere along the chain is off. And so, obviously we can look at it, but this is just a way for you to instantly just feel how balanced or unbalanced you are. So we'll check it again in a few minutes, but Kelly's gonna take us through a couple exercises, and then we'll go from there. So let me stop sharing this so we can see.
Great. Okay, so I picked kind of 3 different exercises today because I really wanted to emphasize how when you have back pain, it's really important to have a balanced pelvic girdle and muscles in the pelvis, right? The muscles that attach to the pelvis support the spine. They're underneath, and the spine sits on top of the pelvic girdle. So it's really important to have a balanced pelvis. So have a seat in your chair, and let's go into what's called sitting in extension. I'm going to show you as well. And if you have a little pillow, maybe on your couch or in your room, if you don't, that's okay. I'll give some modifications. Grab that pillow and bring it over to your chair. And then I'm going to teach you how to sit in extension. Now, this might be painful for people who have current low back pain, but the main important thing is if you can, whether you sit in front of the chair, this is the optimal position, right? Sitting with the hips at 90 degrees, shoulders above the hips, knees at 90 degrees, knees above the ankle bone, feet straight, about 6 inches wide, and make sure those feet are really straight, not turned out like this, right? But if this is painful, you can always shove that exact same posture straight back into the chair. Let the chair support you at 90 degrees and take a little bit of pressure off of that back if you have pain. Okay. So then you're going to place that pillow between your knees. And if you don't have a pillow, just take your hands like this and put them between your knees. Okay. Because we're going to squeeze and release that pillow. Let your arms relax at your side. And you're going to squeeze and release that pillow. Squeeze and release that pillow. Okay? Keeping the shoulders above the hips, hips at 90 degrees, knees at 90 degrees, knees over the ankles, feet straight. Okay? Don't forget to breathe while you're squeezing that pillow. If you don't have the pillow, you just put your hands here between your knees and give it a squeeze. Try to balance it out right to left. Make sure that your right hip and leg are pushing and squeezing that pillow equal with your left, okay? Good. Okay, let's do at least 100 more. Just kidding, just kidding. Not gonna tire you guys all out today.
Yeah, and the pelvis position is important here too.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that you're not, that we actually have the S-curve. Yeah, you don't want to slouch. And so you have to think about kind of sticking your butt out or tipping your pelvis forward to create that curve. Because naturally when you sit, it's going to just kind of flatten out, right?
Yep.
So
that's important to have those shoulders over the hips. You really can't have shoulders over the hips if you're slouching, right? But depending on what level of back pain you're in right now, you may not be able to roll the pelvis forward and stick your butt out. It might be just enough just to keep the shoulders over the hips, okay? So do your best with that.
Yeah, and you want to squeeze back. You can do that, 20 times, or we usually do like 3 sets of 20, but you don't want to go too fast, right? Like 1 second squeeze, 1 second release, just slow and controlled. So
nice and easy. Slow and sure wins the race. That's what I say. Okay, and then let's stand up out of that chair. I'm going to turn another set of lights on because I think it's kind of dim in here for you guys.
Kind of backlit, yeah.
There we go. Maybe a little bit more light. Okay, now let's stand and let's put our feet hip width and parallel. So you're going to have that 6-inch position between the feet. So not like this, but here, right? And then you're just going to stand natural, normal for you, but with your feet straight. And then you're going to focus on squeezing and releasing your butt muscles. Yes, I said butt muscles. So you're going to squeeze and release your glutes, okay? And when you squeeze your glutes together, it's going to tuck your pelvis under a little bit, and it's going to turn your knees out a little bit. It's kind of going to shift the whole lower body just by squeezing your butt muscles. My joke is just, crack the walnut between your cheeks, right? You're just gonna squeeze and release, squeeze and release. It's nice and easy. Try to get both sides to do the same thing at the same time.
Yeah, you might feel like one side is a little firmer or like easier to engage than the other. That can happen especially if your pelvis is, out of position, and one glute might be working better than the other. So we want to do this until you start to feel like both sides are really working together equally. So it may take a lot of repetition, but that's why we tend to do gentle but higher reps here. So,
yeah. And as long as these feel okay and they're not causing any undue pain, right? You can do these throughout your day. They're a really good balancer for the pelvic girdle and the glutes. They're some of the biggest muscles that stabilize the hips and the spine. So it's just good to have tabs on whether your glute muscles are actually, 1, firing and functioning, and 2, like equally supporting your spine, right? Okay, just a couple more there. Then we're going to address the upper body position, the shoulder position on top of the hips, knees, and ankles. So stand again with those feet nice and straight. And if you can't stand, you can do these sitting as well. The glute contractions are a little bit harder sitting. You can't do those sitting. But the elbow curls, you can. So you can do them in that same seated posture we were in before and do them this way or standing, okay? So square up those feet. I like to do standing because it opens up that hip, right? It promotes hip opening and alignment, total body. So then what we do is what's called a golf grip. You're gonna bend the second knuckle and keep the thumbs out, okay? So no bending at the wrist or making a full fist. You're gonna take that full fist, open up the palm, and take the thumb out, okay? Then it's nice because this makes like a little rocking chair on top of your knuckles. So you're gonna go palms out, second knuckle touching the temple, palms in, first knuckle touching the temple, and you go back and forth, back and forth. Elbows are shoulder height, okay? You don't want them too high or too low. You want them right at shoulder height, okay? And then you just gently open and close, open and close. Now, if you can't do these, if this is too painful in your shoulders, then I want you just to drop your arms at your side and squeeze and release your shoulder blades down and together. This is gentle and not invasive, and you can completely do it sitting or standing with very little discomfort, okay? But if you're doing these this way, I want you to work on trying to get them all the way together equally, right? Not one higher than the other or lower than the other. Try to get those elbow bones to touch at the same place at the same time, okay? The more you do, the easier they should get. And don't forget to breathe. Inhale when you open, exhale when you close. Haven't seen anybody fly away yet, but I'm waiting. Okay, now that everybody's arms are tired, right? And doing about 25 to 30 of those is a good goal to work towards, okay? All right, now have a drink of water, take a little break, shake it out, and then we're gonna assess our posture again, right? So stand up, close your eyes if you need to, put your weight, your awareness down into the bottom of your feet and the weight in the bottom of your feet, and see how it's changed after we've done just 3 exercises to balance the pelvis, balance the posture, and what do we find? Go ahead and unmute yourself if you'd like, or put in the chat. You might even see your picture change on your screen.
My hands are rotated forward more.
In a like back and forward more, or like
Yeah, which is, yeah, because they were, my shoulders were rounded more, and so now the thumbs are.
You're ready to catch the ride of life, right? You're like, yeah.
Do you recommend squeezing the pillow seated versus laying down?
Yes.
Laying down.
Today we're doing it sitting, but yes, you can do it in static back as well. Static back is where you lay on your back with your feet up over a chair at a 90-degree angle, and you can put the pillow there and then squeeze and release there. If you're in really bad back pain, that's really where you would probably start, is in the static back position, then squeeze the pillow. Yeah.
Yeah, they're both good, just different, you know, it depends on the client.
Depending on how chronic and how intense your level of pain, it dictates which exercises, what positions we actually can put your body into to gain muscular activity and function. So I always say there's no shame in the modify game. There are so many modifications to all the 300 plus exercises that we have. We tailor them specifically to you to meet your body right where it's at, with the level of pain you're in and the level of alignment that you have. Because here's the thing, if you don't have enough alignment and you're putting too much demand on your body, you're going to have pain. Your alignment has to match the level of demand you're putting on your body at all times. Okay, anybody else with their posture?
Got some people in the chat saying more evenly distributed, not all on the balls of the feet anymore, balance front to back, side to side. Awesome. So yeah, I mean, you should feel something change, and if not, it's not also not a bad thing. It just tells us maybe your body needed something different than what we just gave, which is really just a generic 3 exercises we picked that we thought, you know, most people could do, but obviously it's not for everyone. So but it's good. I know I felt more balanced, you know, I was a little more heavy on one side before, and just doing a few simple things, it doesn't take much to get your body in a better position, right? So.
Nope, not at all. And you can do those exercises 1, 2, 3 times a day, you know, as needed. Yeah,
and so, well, I know it's 4 o'clock here, so we'll just, we have one last thing to share about what to do next. So really kind of came up with 3 different options for you now. Well, I guess there's 4. Our 4th option is you do nothing, which hopefully isn't the case. But so if it's possible, you know, you're brand new to this and still have a lot of questions, or maybe don't quite buy into the whole idea yet, and it's totally fine. You know, I think we tried to cover everything in an hour here, but If you really want to learn about what this method is all about, I would suggest getting the book Pain Free. That's the name of the book, written by our founder, Pete Egoscue. Tells his story and talks about, you know, how this works and how your body works. And there's a chapter dedicated to each body part, including your back. So
thanks for holding that book up, Paul. I can grab it too.
That one, yeah. And there's actually, he came out with a second edition just a few months ago. So if you haven't read that, I highly recommend it. And so then another option is maybe you're liking what we learned here, but you still aren't quite sure you're ready to commit to, you know, paying for sessions or anything, but it's totally fine. You can schedule a free posture evaluation. So if you just want to learn a little bit more about what's going on with your posture, maybe have some questions specifically that we didn't answer yet, we're happy to do a quick evaluation with you, just help you see what's going on with your body and answer your questions. And that doesn't cost you anything. We won't be giving you any, you know, exercise routines or anything with that, but just more as an education for you and taking that first step. And then the third option is if you're ready to, you know, actually get started, and then I think the best way to really make progress with this is to work one-on-one with the therapist, you know, because we can tailor it to your specific needs. And so we offer 2 different packages here. So prices, same in any clinic across the US, except we're offering 10% discount to you guys for joining us today. So you have to let us know in the next week, though, if you want to take advantage of that, how we can bump the price down a little bit as a thank you. But just real quick, what to expect in those sessions is we always start with, you know, getting to know you a little bit more, going over your health history, talking about your goals and where you're at, where you'd like to be. And then we do the assessment. We'll take posture photos so you can see exactly what's going on with your posture. You'll see lines to really make it easy to see what's off. We also can analyze your gait, so how you're walking and how you move and how you balance, and really fine tune exactly what's going on and where things need to be fixed. So, and then we prescribe specific exercises for you. So the 3 we did today are just examples, but there's hundreds of exercise options. And it just depends on, like we talked about, your posture. We'll show you how to do that. You'll get access to our app, which has videos and pictures for each of your specific exercises and a timer to help kind of guide you along that. So you do your exercises every day, and then we typically meet once a week to make sure that you're doing things correctly, to reevaluate, see what's getting better, maybe what's not. Then we can make changes to the exercises, because the last thing you want to do is just be kind of stagnant, just doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, right? We want to progress, and gradually, you know, as your body changes, the exercise is going to need to change as well, as we're kind of peeling back those layers of dysfunction and getting to the root cause of your pain. And then eventually, once your pain is better and your posture is in a better position, then we focus more on the strengthening. So maybe you start to get back into your yoga practice, or maybe you start going back to the gym or start hiking more, whatever it is that you'd had to given up because of your pain. We want to make sure your posture is strong enough to maintain good alignment during those activities. And then it's just a matter of maintaining that. So for the rest of your life, hopefully it's something that you learn that you can do on your own, with, you know, check-ins and help along the way as needed. But ultimately it's about, you know, creating a lifestyle change. So that's kind of why we have the 2 different packages, because it doesn't happen just in one session, obviously. So
not that I haven't ever seen it happen, because yes, it has happened in one session, but
yeah,
your body it's a process over time of realigning your body.
Yeah, almost everybody feels some kind of difference on the first session for sure. Like, just like most of us felt some change in our feet after those 3 things. I kind of expect everybody to go home after their first session feeling a little bit better than when they came in. And it just takes time depending on how severe things were, of course. But so that's kind of the basic rundown. Does Let me check the chat, but does anybody have any other questions about anything we went over? And now's your chance. Oh, Paul said, how long do you have to complete either package? Can you space it out? Is there a time limit? I mean, we want to help you get better as quick as possible, right? So generally we've seen what works best if you're in pain is to meet with you more often. So once a week, or sometimes we see people even more often than that. And that's just to help keep you on track. And we just don't want to let too much time go between sessions, because then, you know, what if something's not working well for you? And, or what if you're doing an exercise incorrectly and don't realize it?
Yeah. I have examples of that all the time. Like I have a woman right now who comes in every 2 weeks. And I mean, I'm glad she's coming in every 2 weeks, but I've also highly recommended she come in every week, because when she comes in, she's doing them incorrectly. And she's been doing them incorrectly for 2 weeks, where if we caught it in the first week, she wouldn't have been doing it incorrectly. And she was actually causing some pain in her foot by doing them incorrectly. And she has access to me via, you know, text message and email and calling, but she's, you know, interpreting however she's interpreting. So it's important to like make sure you're doing them correctly at home. You're confident and comfortable repeating them at home, and having you closer in the beginning is better, easier, quicker results than having you further apart in the beginning. Eventually you go further and further apart, 2 weeks apart, month apart, 3 months, 6 months, never again, that type of thing. But in the beginning, you're learning a totally new habit and a new way of being in your body. So it's a learning process in so many ways.
Specifically though, to your question, the sessions do expire after 1 year technically. So, I mean, most people finish much sooner than that, but you know, that is kind of, you do have up to a year. And you can use the sessions in any clinic across the United States within that year. So if you're traveling or you move or whatever, you know, you can, they're good at any license.
You can transfer those sessions. Yep. Yeah. And the 16 package, you can share with friends and family too. So I have a lot of couples and or siblings or family members who come in, start getting results, feel great, and then their husband or wife wants to come, or their kids, they want to bring their kids, or they want to share with a sibling, or, you know, that's great too. And I don't know if Zach mentioned that we do in-person and virtual. So we're able to do Skype, FaceTime, Zoom. That's like half of my day, maybe a quarter of my day is online. So we just assess the posture digitally. We can actually take your pictures virtually and put them in the program, send them to you, and we can compare, we can share screens with you and look at them at the same time. So it's equally as educational virtually as it is in person. And we get on the floor, we teach you the exercises, you get on the floor, you do the exercises with us. It's highly effective. So don't let distance get in the way of you moving forward and getting the help that you need.
Yeah, for sure. Anything we've learned this past 2 years, it's that we can do a lot of stuff over Zoom just as well as in person. Yeah.